Hey everybody, I'm Mandi Rae of Ecstatic Astrology, and I'm here with Krista of Practical Astros for the June forecast. And I'm looking forward to June. Krista, how about you?
Yeah. June seems like a nice little cakewalk compared to what July and the eclipse season is coming. So, not that there's not dramatic things that will happen, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. It seems kind of like a happily slower season than what July will have for us.
It really does. And honestly, May was kind of crazy too. It feels like June might be the slightly quieter month. I think we talked about this when we did the year ahead thing. Like June seems almost like a breather in the
hmm
middle of all this kind of chaos because May had all these transits and July's got these crazy transits. So yeah, let's maybe we can take a look at the overview.
And for posterity, we're recording this on May 27th at 1:34 Eastern. It's Mercury's day. So,
Yes, and the moon's in Libra and it's opposing Chiron, which was a it's going to be a theme in June as well because Chiron is at the very end of Aries.
mhm.
So it's going to move into Taurus in June. So we have a lot of ingresses. That's one of the things, which means a lot of new feeling and a new fresh energy, for lack of a better term. Um, you've got Mercury entering Cancer at the very beginning. Then you've got Venus entering Leo. You've got Chiron entering Taurus, Mars entering Gemini, Jupiter entering Leo. So it's just a lot. And then of course we've got the fact that Uranus is in Gemini now. So lots of new stuff.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably going to be the biggest thing that we notice in June is that there won't be as much like sparkly over the top or explosive interactions between planets. But you may see with every ingress, you have the sun going into a new sign, it kind of spotlights that new sign in your chart. And so Chiron going into Taurus will like highlight the Chiron themes and the Taurus themes. The sun will highlight Cancer themes. Venus and Mercury, as they go in, you do kind of get that vibe shift a little bit. But it's really in July, after all of these ingresses happen, that they start to really interact with each other. And we don't have the outers kind of going direct or retrograde. So like that shift it's more about the closer planets, the ones that we interact with. They're kind of setting up the stage in June to enact the drama for July.
That's true. So yeah, started off with Mercury entering Cancer. I like the this little emoji here because it's like that. It's not sad, but it's emotional. Like I feel happy tears.
I use that
Um,
emoji probably more than any other
I
emoji.
know it's like how sweet. It's a sweet
Aw,
emoji,
yeah.
and it will be sweet for a minute until it enters the shadow phase and then goes retrograde on the 29th. So,
And
I
then
mean,
it's
you
full on tears. That's the
full
shift.
on full on tears right then. But the fact that, and we can go ahead and look at the chart for when Mercury enters Cancer, because I was thinking, as far as Jupiter in Cancer goes, the Mercury retrograde in Cancer seems like it's going to interact with whatever themes came up with Jupiter in Cancer,
hmm
and maybe like what did you learn? What was maybe too much? What do you need to redo?
Yeah.
And as Mercury enters Cancer, we still have Venus there approaching Jupiter in Cancer. So yeah, the very first at 6:55 a.m. Monday, June 1st. I love it when the month starts on a Monday.
hmm
I don't know
Easier for the
why.
brain. Easier for the
Yeah,
brain. I
that's
was
right.
just looking at because I'm on Dolly Parton's newsletter list, and so she sent out an email earlier today that she is opening up basically a truck stop in Cornersville, Tennessee, which is in between Birmingham and Nashville. And it's like a full-on Dolly Parton. Like there's a stage for music, and there's a dine-in restaurant. There's grab and go. It's a place for truckers to park. But it's like a place for safety for all travelers. You get nourishing food, you get music, and she's opening it on uh, this like I looked at the chart. I looked at the sunrise chart of this day. It's on June
Mhm.
24th, which is St. John the Baptist Day. And it's like Mercury and Jupiter are together. They're in Cancer. Venus is in Leo. And like some of the picture that she has is the mud flap girl, but it's her and she's holding a microphone. And I was like, all of this, absolutely all of it. So that's what I'm thinking with Mercury and Jupiter together in Cancer is that Dolly Parton like influence, like
Yeah.
maybe look through the world with a Dolly Parton lens because it just makes it more fun, more nourishing, more friendly, a little sassy because Cancer is very sassy. So it's like to me now it's like Dolly Parton month. That's what I'm looking at it for.
Yeah, I love too that Dolly Parton has Venus and Capricorn, I believe.
Hmm.
And I want to say it might be later. So it could be that
It
the
opposes.
is
Yeah,
opposing
yeah.
her Venus. I love that. That is amazing. We love a good Dolly Parton.
Oh, and the cafe is called Cup of Ambition Coffee from nine
Oh
to
my
five.
gosh.
Oh my God. I
I've
just
got
love
a
her.
I have a t-shirt that says pour yourself a cup of ambition. So I'm gonna have to visit that wearing my t-shirt.
There you go.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. And you're having your birthday party this weekend, right? The
I
last
am
weekend of
for the
May.
the full moon in Sag. Yep. So I get a
Yeah,
little bit of this vibe.
that's awesome. Oh, well, okay. So Mercury in Cancer, what can we say about it? Emotional, intuitive. Mercury is how you think, how you kind of do things daily, go about daily life, and it's commerce, it's the messenger, all with a emotive flair, I think.
Hmm.
And a way to examine what's Jupiter's transit through Cancer has been. And the just the topics of nurturing, nourishment, mother, home, family, I think will come up.
Yeah.
Um,
Safety. That's a big one for Cancer.
Safety, yeah.
Like communicating that the way we think about safety. Mercury rules the previous sign of Gemini. So this Gemini season was the first one we had with Mercury at home in Gemini while Uranus was there. And
Mm,
so it might be that as it plunges into the cool waters of Cancer, we kind of can emotionally process what it went through, the things that we began to like the way that we began to think differently with co-present Uranus and Mercury and Gemini. Now we kind of add that emotional layer. But the word that keeps coming up for me is like safety and how we communicate our personal needs, but really kind of circumambulating around the sense of safety, which I think approaching
mm,
July, that'll be kind of what we all are thinking about is just,
uh-huh.
protection.
Yeah, I agree. And Mercury is moving really fast, almost 2 degrees a day at this point. It's 1 degree, 41 minutes, I think. And so the next transit is Mercury square Neptune that
Hmm.
happens on the third, I want to say. Let me look at this. Mercury square Neptune, which to me is, yeah, June 3rd, 7:18 p.m. There's Neptune over here in Aries. Mercury will square these things in Saturn as it goes along.
Hmm.
Uh, and that, I mean, that being said, anything that goes into Leo will try in these Aries placements. So I'm looking forward to Mercury getting past the square to Neptune. I'm not as concerned about the square to Saturn, but the square to Neptune can be so foggy, and so maybe a little confusing. So I feel like once we get past this, things might be a little more clear with Mercury and Cancer.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. And it might be that go like leading into that square, it just feels even foggier because it's Mercury in a water sign, and then it's having to deal with that. It's being squared by Neptune, and just like you said, like once you're past that square, maybe having that clarity of mind, even in an emotional way.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And I really think that Mercury moving so fast, these things are almost like blips on the map.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, if it moves fast, then it's gonna come to a skidding halt when it goes retrograde at the end of the month.
exactly right.
Yeah.
It's going to like that
Hmm.
kind of thing. Um, did you have anything else on your calendar in between the third and the eighth? I can't. Felt like you did maybe a sextile that I wasn't aware of.
Oh
Um,
yeah, so Sun will sextile Saturn
that's right.
on the second.
Okay, in
Um,
between.
yeah, yeah. I threw a couple of sextiles in there just because those are the ones that are kind of hard to notice that it's happening when it's happening. You can kind of see that story in retrospect. So on the second,
Let's look at that.
the Sun and Gemini will sextile Saturn and Aries.
Let's take a look really quick so that people can see what that's like. So there's the sun at 12 Gemini, and then there's Saturn at 12 Aries. And so that sextile is a 60-degree, um, I guess, aspect geometrical configuration. That's what
Mm-hmm.
these are. When we talk about sextiles and trines, if you don't know, it's just the degrees apart that they are. And 60 degrees, they can, in astrology, we kind of say see one another.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturn being what it's been in Aries, which is it's been a slog to me, because it doesn't like Aries. It's not a fan of Aries. The sun in Gemini is always really fun. So this sextile might be a glimpse of how Saturn and Aries could work for us, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if
So
we think of
yeah.
like aspects, one of the descriptions of an aspect is like one planet bearing witness to another as if you were in a court of law. Like, a sextile could be that Saturn is giving an opinion on their first impressions of the sun. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, from my Saturnian position, I'm bearing witness or providing testimony for the sun, even though it's new, maybe I'm not exactly sure what the relationship is, but there's a sense of hope of like, but I'm willing to figure it out. Like I like your energies, Sun and Gemini, and what can we create together? And then when the sun moves into Cancer, then it's a square. It's like, well, my testimony has changed now. I've seen what you are like, and now I've got some thoughts, I've got some opinions. And then when the sun moves into Leo, it's a trine. It's like, okay, we'll work through our issues. My testimony has now changed where I'm more on your team with that trine. So it's like the aspects are a way of like one planet kind of casting their opinion on the behavior of the other
Mm-hmm.
planet. And it's always in the one that's in the superior position. So, like if you were Saturn and you walked into the arena and then you look to your right, Gemini's to your right. So you get to kind of place your opinion on that sun because of the position that you are in the sky. It also means like if you forwarded the chart, Saturn would rise in the sky
Mm-hmm.
before the sun would. And so it's almost like Saturn gets up earlier and has more time to gather up its materials, and it's a
Yep.
bit more prepared for when the sun actually makes it into the arena of the sky. Then Saturn's already ready. So that gives it a little bit of superiority in the aspect scheme. But that's part of the reasons why aspects have those translations is just it's not just abstract geometric shapes. It helps to have the geometry though, so that you can kind of see it and calculate it. But
Yep.
that's one of the rabbit holes that you can go down if you study astrology.
Yeah. I love that one too. The rest of the week is pretty quiet. The moon's in
Hmm.
Pisces on Saturday. I like that, especially with what's coming on the 8th. And so I would say after Wednesday here, what's cool is you can almost kind of enjoy Venus approaching Jupiter. So Venus will conjoin Jupiter on June 8th. And that's why I have a little magic man here, magic
Yay.
emoji, because this is the two benefics coming together. They've done it once. And I think we talked about this maybe last month. We spent some time
I
on it
talk about this
recently.
every month.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we do. Because we've been waiting on it because the first one had such hard aspects from other planets
It was a
along
malefic
to deal with.
square. Yeah, it was a malefic
Yeah.
square when they first came together. So this one's
Hmm.
easier for sure.
It is. So let's look at that chart. Yay. And I actually want to kind of go with Moon and Pisces to look because you're going to have the Moon trine Mercury on Sunday. Well, the Moon moves into Pisces on Saturday, I believe. Um, could be wrong. Yeah, it's a late Saturday. So you've got the Moon. It's going to interact with Mercury first before they actually come together, and then
Hmm.
Venus, and then it's going to be trine both here on Monday, Monday evening, but all of Monday it's going to be looking at that trine, and that's a
Hmm.
close to the conjunction. So
Yeah.
I love the moon in Pisces for anything I would enjoy. That weekend seems like it could be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into Monday, and then Monday is the exact conjunction. So let's look at that, I guess. Venus conjunct Jupiter. So at 2:59 p.m. on Tuesday, June 9th, I guess I have it on the 8th. Maybe I'm not excited. I
Let's celebrate a
am.
day early. Yeah.
I mean, the moon's trying it. Maybe that's where my brain was going. But I am a fan of this. And in fact, at the actual conjunction, the moon's in Aries.
Mm-hmm. With
Um,
Neptune.
with Neptune. Luckily it's not, I mean, Mercury is square Saturn at this point. So we do have that. And that's exact. Let's see,
Probably
Mercury.
later that day or that night.
Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, okay.
Just
Right after.
over
Yeah.
midnight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I have that on the 10th on my calendar. So, but you know what? That's kind of almost like the storyline. And I love that because you've got Venus, Jupiter, possibly this gift or this good feeling. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it could be friends, it could be someone says something nice to you, it could be that, you went and got a new hair color, whatever the really nice thing is with the Venus Jupiter conjunction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it happens right before Mercury square Saturn because it's almost like giving you a boost. And I have this little emoji of someone on a computer with Mercury square
Mm.
Saturn because it's like, okay, if you go into a moment that could be, I mean, sort of difficult, and a square is tension, and then you've got Saturn being what it is and Mercury being how you think. And there seems to be like, I got to get to work. I got to do this. I feel like I can't think straight, or there's
Mm.
this
Mm-hmm.
obstacle, or, whatever the case may be. It could be extra feelings because of all this in Cancer. But at least you have this boost, you can tackle things like that so much easier coming off of a big boost in
Yeah,
your
yeah. It maybe
person.
even just putting it into perspective of like, if this is the price that I pay to have to get this, then it's worth it. It maybe helps prioritize. I was going to ask, can you look and see what the Sabian symbol is for that conjunction?
Yes, I can, and I would love to because this is this specific conjunction. The other one was what did we say, 13 degrees, I think it
I
was.
think so, yeah.
So this one's just later, it's a later decan and the last decan, and it's going to just feel very different. So it is, because you always read for the next degree. So it's 26 is what you read. And it's
Mm-hmm.
guests are reading in the library of a luxurious home.
Ooh.
And it is, I like the keynote rather than reading all these crazy, because the Sabian symbols, Jane Rudyard set it up like almost a storyline, so that there's
Mm-hmm.
levels, they're all connected to one another. This one is the transference of social privilege to the level of intellectual enjoyment. Um, so if you are someone who is, for instance, you don't have a library and you're able to go sit in the library of a luxurious home and read, or anytime you're in, like, for instance, you get an Airbnb that is way nicer than your house or something like that, you feel that, and I think that's what this moment feels like. It's an intellectual, I love that it says intellectual enjoyment because Mercury will square Saturn the next
Yeah, yeah.
day, and that intellectual part always comes in with Mercury. So yeah, I like this as we are not dealing now with leaders in the intellectual community, but with wealthy guests who apparently seek to improve their minds or to keep up with intellectual trends at the time, thus maintaining class standards of information.
Hmm.
So it's almost like get on the level,
Yeah.
get on this level.
And like Venus and Jupiter seem like they would be wealthy guests that would visit anyway.
They do.
Speaking of guests, I'm gonna shut my window because my Sagittarius husband is rocking out and I can hear the his new pedal coming into my headphones. So give me a
I
sec.
love it. Yeah, you got it. Right now, I'm just going to talk about how that this second week of June is pretty big as far as big transits go, because Venus conjoining Jupiter on Monday, and then you've got Mercury square Saturn. I mean, this is one of the bigger weeks of June, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what I was just doing while you were closing your window, was which Mercury square Saturn is kind of like, close the window, we got work to do.
Yeah, man. I ain't got time to rock out.
Oh, that's Morgan's in the Venus conjunct Jupiter, and you're like, okay, well, Mercury squaring Saturn, we got
Yeah.
something. I love it. And then anything, I guess I don't want to leave without saying, if you want to do something, I mean, we talk about electional astrology. I'm not the greatest electional astrologer, but it can be easy, especially with these moments. Like, for
Hmm.
instance, the moon being in Pisces, trine Venus and Jupiter together on that
Hmm.
Sunday before. That's a great day to create, because of the Piscean influence, and
Hmm.
to connect with that intuition and intellect, and to feel good, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. It's funny, I
So,
just opened up electional to my newsletter list to I do it for myself. I love electional astrology. It's what brought me back to astrology. And so there are some good moments in June. It's harder as we get closer to the eclipses to find good elections, honestly,
mhm.
because there's a lot of dignity that's lost from these planets, especially Mars not being happy for a while. But there's ways to do it. You can tuck the malefics in cadent houses is usually a trick. But yeah, the moon is key for elections. It's like how is the rest of the sky being translated to us, and the moon
Mhm.
being happy, and the moon's temple being happy. Those are good places to start.
Yeah. Yeah, so anything here, 7th and 8th, maybe even late at night on the 6th, but I like it when it's closer to the exact trine on Sunday and Monday.
Hmm.
So, and the exact trine is, what did I say, 2 p.m.? Let me double check that again. Um, because some people like to know the exact moment.
The exact
2:59 p.m. Venus and Jupiter.
oh yeah, yeah. Hmm.
2:59 p.m. Central Time. So about 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern, is the exact Venus Jupiter conjunction. So I'm going to take a
Yeah.
minute to honor that on that June 9th, Tuesday.
Yeah, and for my location, it puts Cancer as the top of the chart. The MC is at 23, so it's like the MC is right there with the benefics, which is awfully nice.
That is nice. And then I don't think we need to say too much more about Mercury square Saturn. It's very quick. But then you have the Friday, Mercury hits the shadow degree. So
Mm.
this is where Mercury will eventually come back to. So Mercury will go, actually, it's funny, it'll go retrograde at 26 degrees where Jupiter is when it enters the shadow phase.
Oh yeah.
And that's on June 29th. And then it'll go all the way back. And I want to say it's mid-July when it hits 16 degrees again. We can look at that so that we know all of it. Mercury it goes into shadow June 12th, turns retrograde June 29th, goes direct July 23rd. And then by the time it's at 26 Cancer, it'll be out of shadow phase. That's August
Hmm.
6th. And then we'll, have
So
a couple
that
things.
25, 26 degree Cancer point, like if you have something significant in your chart that has that, then it will be blessed by the benefic conjunction, but also have something kind of some sort of like nagging princess in the pea irritation with that Mercury retrograde because like when Mercury stations on a degree, it can kind of like mark it down on the map of like this is where I need to this is the opening and closing of the story. So
Yeah, absolutely. So 16 Cancer, 26 Cancer, and those 10 degrees in between, you're going to have Mercury retrograde over it 3 times. So if you have
hmm.
anything from 16 to 26, Mercury will be hitting that 3 times. So
Yeah.
I always like to point out the shadow phase, because to me, this is oftentimes when things start to, I think people think things go wrong during the retrograde. And in my experience, that's the cleanup time. I think it's the shadow phase. You're exposed to the things that either
Mm.
could go wrong or need to be changed or need to be rethought. and it might not make itself super um you know known to you until it is retrograde, but then that post shadow phase is like sweeping it up, we're
Yep.
done. And
Yep.
then that's how I look
Yeah.
at it.
And it's also like rethinking it, I think, is key because it's, on the 12th, it may feel uneventful, but then once it becomes retrograde, it's like you might have these flashbacks or throwbacks to that June 12th exchange of like, I didn't realize that that moment was going to keep coming back to me. Like I need to reevaluate that conversation or that instance or that email or that movie that I saw, whatever it is. It's like some sort of omen keeps returning, and maybe you're just kind of looking at it like turning the jewel, but it's like that's the first glimpse you see, but it's hard to see the significance of it and until you get to that the retrograde and then the post retrograde. It's like it becomes prominent in retrospect, like a lot of things in astrology.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and before I forget, I wanted to also point out that Uranus is at the bendings, and it's been there like this whole first, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
week of June. So they're
Just for
actually,
sprinkles and surprise.
yeah, here at the so Mercury squares Saturn, and then Uranus is right there at the square to the nodes. So that's in um some, I guess, schools of thought with astrology, it's looked at as a skip step or a
Hmm.
stepping stone. I like that. So what changes or what change is coming into your life in Gemini is kind of related to where the eclipses have been in Pisces and Virgo
Mm-hmm.
is kind of how I look at it. So I just wanted to make sure and say that.
Well, and also it has Antisha with Venus, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
a nice like undercurrent of support. So, while it's in the bendings, maybe there's some sort of Venusian support system that is also there to kind of help its process while it's in that crossroad.
Yeah, and I mean, right here on the 13th, Venus moves into Leo, so that's
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. Um, and that's going to start a sextile between Venus and Uranus, which
Mm-hmm.
I love too. So there is definitely that influence there. Um, and Venus and Leo, let's see how long that is. So June 13th through
Not
June,
long.
July 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's moving really fast. And the reason I wanted to know that is because it's just a really nice, I love Venus and Leo. I love
Yeah.
Venus and Leo. Um, it's something that I think you can expect this really nice, soft touch wherever Leo is in your chart. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's my second house of money. So I'll take it. Um,
I've also seen big expenditures, like having very exquisite and expensive taste while Venus is in Leo. So it might be that your taste gets like very bougie, and you just treat yourself while Venus is there. Every person I know that has Venus in Leo has exquisite taste, like
mm,
really, really, really good choices. Like when you're talking about guests in a luxurious library, and like that's Venus and Leo for me.
it's yeah, and my friend has Venus and Leo, and it's her housewarming party that night. And
Perfect.
she bought a beautiful craftsman, I call it a Nancy Drew house,
Uh,
downtown Birmingham, and she
mhm.
decorates it so beautifully. You're
That's
right.
amazing. Yep.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
So it's a very good example of that. And we planned it for Venus in Leo. I'm very excited about that for her. Uh, so while it's there, also people can be um extra the performer, I think, with Venus
Hmm.
and Leo. And you might see love stories and super romance come up with Venus and Leo as well. And just playfulness. I love Venus and Leo for that.
Yeah. 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 And like some of you may remember the last Venus retrograde, which we're going to have one this fall, with Libra, Scorpio. But the last Venus retrograde was in Leo. And if we think of Leo as solar and visible and celebrity and public, when Venus was retrograde in Leo, it was like kind of that summer of all the celebrity breakups. A
Hmm.
retrograde is something that you have to kind of redo, rethink, reform all the RE words. And so think of Venus and Leo as kind of like that Hollywood romance, that idealization, that over the top, that documenting your love story. It doesn't have to be just within relationships. Like it could be whatever house Leo is for you. It could be that if it's your seventh house, like Aquarius risings might have a really loud and lovely Venus and Leo season. But I like Venus and Leo just for the fiery nature of it. It like plunges out of the waters of Venus and Cancer and then gets to just like be, you know, like double D cups of ambition with Venus and Leo. And then she kind of softens again and pairs down when she goes into Virgo, and then she re-emerges, in Libra. So I love Venus's transit, especially from Aries to really from Aries to Scorpio. I love that Venus story.
Yeah.
Once it gets to Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, I get a little Venus doesn't seem like to have much dignity and much expression, even though
Hmm.
I love a lot of those placements. It's just like I love the story arc. It's so dramatic and fluctuating
Hmm.
from Aries to Scorpio that we're right in the heat of it when it goes into Leo.
Yeah, and it's worth noting everything that happens here with this transit through Leo. When it goes retrograde in Scorpio, that is the square sign to Leo.
Hmm.
So it's something to just pay attention to what themes are coming up because when it does go retrograde in Scorpio, and a little bit of Libra, there could be some like callbacks to June.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
Yeah,
kind
can
of
we
how I
look
like
at
to look
that? Can
at
we
it.
just look at that? Like when does
Sure.
Venus go retrograde?
Yep,
What's
it
the
goes
degree?
retrograde October 3rd at 8 degrees. And Mercury, of course, Mercury and Venus love to be retrograde together.
So it's eight
Um,
degrees Scorpio. So can we look and see where when Venus gets to 8 degrees, 29 minutes of Leo?
yes,
I'm just
eight.
curious about that date.
I agree. Eight Leo. So that's June 20th.
So the solstice
Yep,
is easy to remember. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, so that might be, and I'm like, what am I doing on that day? I'd like to know. A touch point.
Yeah.
And I think if we can go here, because in the middle of it, so you have Venus entering Leo, and you have a new moon in Gemini.
Hmm.
I think the Venus opposition to Pluto also might call that in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's right on.
So, I mean, it's this week. So we'll take a look at the new moon in Gemini and then we'll come back to Venus. How about that? Because we will come back to Venus. Or Venus will come back to us. So June 14th, Venus is in Leo, and it's actually in a within a degree of a sextile to Uranus and Gemini. So it's Venus is touching this Gemini stuff as well, but the new moon is at 24 degrees of Gemini. And I like this one because the new moon's kind of out there on its own.
Yeah, same.
Mercury and the moon are in mutual reception for this new moon. And so that's
Hmm.
kind of nice with Mercury coming into a sextile with Mars as well. So there's this one just feels I don't know, pretty. I have an owl as my
Hmm.
emoji for it. Like,
That's
like,
appropriate. It feels quiet. I mean, for Gemini especially, it feels quiet, kind of like a welcomed lull. It
mm-hmm.
does feel just kind of on its own, even though it can see the Aries house, it can see that Venus and Leo, it can see Pluto, but it just feels it's kind of like maybe it's like having a quiet moment of Zen in the middle of a party. It feels like it's just on its own.
Yeah, I just quickly looked at the Sabian symbol and it's pruning, a gardener trimming large palm trees, which I could totally see that for this.
Hmm.
It's like, it's been a lot, especially with Uranus and Gemini. It's felt, I don't know if other people have felt this, but like a perpetual Mercury retrograde. I've just seen
Mm-hmm.
things go wrong and just so this feels a little quiet and it's almost like Mercury's in Cancer, like calming it down a little bit, calming the Uranus
Mm-hmm.
down because its transit through Gemini was insane. So
Yeah. There's also just like looking at the double body nature of all the mutable signs, but particularly the twins, the Gemini mythology of the twins. And at the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, at least, this is when the sun is ascending to the highest. And there's this sense of, in all twin myths, there's this moment where one twin kills the other. And these are like the hard decisions that mutables have to make. The
Mm-hmm.
decisions of like, what do I let go in order to keep ascending? And
Mm,
that's what I feel like personally it will be for each of us, because a new moon is like personally felt. It's a dark moon. It's a time of darkness and quiet and reflection and a renewal of lunar things, including your own body and your habits and the way you think, and especially a Mercury ruled moon. And so I wonder, just the prompt for this new moon for each of us is like, what part of myself do I prune away?
mm,
What part of this mirrored twin do I kill off so that the rest of me can ascend? Like that's why you prune. Is
mm,
so that the rest of the plant can continue to follow the sun and grow towards light. And it's not easy, but having the space where it's not engaged with a bunch of other things in the sky might be a blessing to be like, I really want to spend some time to think about these things and to allow whatever I'm choosing to get rid of to honor it by not making the decision lightly, but being really thoughtful, which Gemini can be incredibly thoughtful. It's ruled by the mind. It just, usually spouts off as it learns. So we don't think that it's thoughtful, but Gemini just can process really quickly. And I think that our processing of what we are here to renew will include what we are choosing to let go of.
mm,
And that's kind of what this new moon feels like. It feels a little somber, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. My friend Kurt wrote a song called Deadhead Bouquet, and it kind of reminds me of that. And
Hmm.
it's about, deadheading your flowers. And he's like, just bring me a deadhead bouquet. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of a somber thing. So, yeah. So then the next thing is this Venus opposition to Pluto.
Oh, first. I wanted to, so I put it on my
Oh, yeah.
calendar to ask you about. So on that new moon, the
Oh, yeah.
sun is opposite Lilith. And as someone that doesn't work with
Mm.
Lilith, but is very interested, I know that you just have spent more time with her.
Hmm.
How would you describe Sun and Lilith oppositions?
I mean, it's Lilith to me is a powerhouse. They say dark feminine energy. I don't, the only thing dark about it is that Lilith didn't want to be subjugated.
Hmm.
And so if you think of sun solar power as, maybe even masculine, the father, and Lilith being opposite that,
Mm-hmm.
there is a knowing, especially with Lilith and Sagittarius, so
Mm.
um it is this, you may be figuring yourself out, but I know what I'm doing, kind of a situation.
Hmm.
And that's how I would look at it, because Lilith always wants to be drawing on that um empowerment signature. And
Yeah.
yes, sometimes it can be dark when it's not expressed well, or where you don't allow yourself to express that as a woman. And I'm not saying Lilith can't be active for a man or whatever you identify as. It's just, as a woman personally, I identify with Lilith in that way, where it's like, okay, the new moon, the sun, yes, but the new moon too, being opposite that. What is the, I don't think I have her in charts, but not in my transit calculations. I'm just curious where exactly. Let's see here if it'll show up. No, of course not.
You have to display it first. I
Yeah.
went through this. Yeah.
But it'll be close to here.
It
But
is at 12:30 a.m. my time Eastern. So it was 1:30 a.m. your time. So Lilith is 2309.
okay, yeah.
So it's
So
just prior to the new moon.
all right, gotcha. Yeah. So that's going to factor into the new moon, I think,
Mm.
and it could be a little bit of, you might think you need to, Gemini likes to gather information, but don't forsake the inner knowing, is how I
Mm.
would,
There you
I
go.
would put it. Yeah. And I mean,
Thanks. Yeah.
it's funny that the sun's opposite Lilith and then you have Venus opposite Pluto. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
these are similar things,
Yeah. Yeah, that
so
knowing, and it's like, how do you know something? Is it from that innate wisdom? And where does that innate wisdom come from? It comes from all sorts of inputs. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's like the power of wisdom and the power of power. It's funny. I right
Mm-hmm.
before we were recording, I was like chatting with some other astrologers and reading this ongoing story that another astrologer in Europe has trademarked the phrase astrocartography and has sent cease and desist of other to other astrologers for using that. And so like they have applied for a trademark, but they are not the ones that developed it. Jim Lewis's trust owned it, but then that trademark expired, right? And so
Wow.
it's like thinking about where is your power? Is your power in the fact that you own a trademark of a phrase that thousands of astrologers use that? How do
Mm-hmm.
you claim ownership? How do you retain the power? And what is the motivation of that power? To me, motivation and power wrap around Venus or Pluto.
Yeah.
And then it's like the power of the collective or the power of the individual. Is
Yeah.
that Venus and Leo like, I want the glory of this, but then by one person owning the name astrocartography, does that then allow that name to die away because everyone else is going to have to use some other name, and then that other name becomes the term that we all use? It's like
Yeah.
this like source of what is the motivation? What is the power?
Yeah.
What is the information? How do we gather all this together and then pivoting all of those sources of power? That when I was reading it, at first I was like, it was a Mars Pluto thing. And so I'm looking at when Mars opposes Pluto in October, but then Venus opposing it. I feel like we'll get kind of like another layer to the story, like maybe more context of why this person felt like they had to trademark it. And so that's coming up pretty soon because we're recording
Mm.
this May 27th, and this opposition is happening just 3 weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And, the oppositions are almost like being at the mediation table,
Mm-hmm.
And it also reminds me of when Meghan Markle tried to trademark archetype, the word archetype,
Oh, I
it's
didn't
like,
know that she tried that. Yeah.
yes. I don't know if it ever went through because I mean it's just a word, but
Yeah.
um it's like that. It's like how much or if you're doing it for the glory, are you actually going to disempower yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of this Venus opposition to Pluto, think to October because in October, Venus will go retrograde at the exact square point to this opposition.
Mm.
So I'm looking at that. Yeah. So Mercury will be exactly square Pluto at that time, but Venus
Mm-hmm.
will square Pluto again. And look at where Mars is.
Yeah.
So this is going to absolutely, this moment is going to absolutely, I think, factor into October. So,
To
if you're
both of the
thinking,
retrogrades of Venus and Mercury.
and
Yep.
Mercury, yep, and the Mars opposition to Pluto, it's just one of these things. It's like, okay, if you are thinking about, and this is just, I'm coming up with an idea, a situation like, I really want to go on vacation and I'm going to spend all my money to do it. And
Mm,
then you get to October and you realize your 18-year-old daughter going to college really needs this stuff and you could get it for her for Christmas, but you spend all the money on your own pleasure instead of
mm,
thinking about the wider scope of things, which what Pluto and Aquarius wants us to do, wants us to see the bird's eye view and to
mm,
look at our place in it. So it's a I think a balancing act because it's not something you may need some attention here,
mm-hmm.
but measured. I get the feeling of let it be measured during this time, and that makes sense because Venus will try and Saturn, here in a little bit after this. So there may be a moment of where you want to empower yourself, but think about it in terms of the larger context of not just your life, but this year.
Yeah.
Is it a smart decision?
Well, I'm also just looking because a month from this moment will be the eclipse that happens in
Mm,
Aquarius in Leo.
yeah.
And so
And that's South
Mercury
Node.
will be at that 5 degree point in Leo. So Mercury gets into the chat as well.
That's right. And the South Node in Leo is going to empty this stuff out of you. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to find that you will deal with the karmic uh lessons, I guess, of Leo, which can be, being too extra, being too, I don't want to say self-centered, but that can be a way that Leo expresses itself.
Hmm.
Um, and that karmic, you keep coming back to it because you do every 9 years, you'll come back to it in some way. So at this point, yeah, I think Venus is a help,
Yeah.
so, maybe go into that idea of
Starting off with diplomacy.
diplomacy, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and balance and just a measured way of being. The moon's there too, which with Mercury and Cancer, it's something maybe you can think about. Okay, well, also my family, also um how I nurture others and how I nurture myself, and what do I truly need right now? What do I
Hmm.
really need rather than what do I want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a juicy one, really. It's
It really
juicy.
is. So it's like that the new moon does feel like it preps us for that intensity because then
Hmm.
Chiron into Taurus is the next
Yep.
aspect, right? Yeah.
Yep. And the reason I have a little poop emoji is because it could be some bullshit.
Is it poop or is it pudding? Like, that's got to be.
That's a very Taurus question, isn't it? uh, Chiron is the wounded healer. So when it does ingress, I'm wildly curious. Chiron, let's see, Chiron ingressed um, Aries. Let's look at this because this might help to kind of figure out. Okay. So it ingressed Aries April 2018, February 2019. So 2018, 2019.
Hmm.
Look at those like early, I guess spring 2018 and then late
Spring
winter
29.
2019,
Yeah.
spring, yeah, 2019. Um, and it won't come into Aries again for till 2068. So it's like 50 years, right? So um think back to that, and I'm thinking back to it because we moved into our house in January 2019. So I
Mm-hmm.
was already dealing with those that ingress of Aries, and Aries is my 10th house. So that's
Yeah.
the home and career axis. So there with Taurus, and I felt a lot in Aries in my 10th house, just personal experience with healing that part of my, like, what does it mean to have a career? What does it
Mm.
mean to work? What is legacy? What does it mean to have authority? And the wounding that comes from maybe not having it. So that's kind of been my experience with Chiron in my 10th. So Chiron moving into my 11th, and you can find that in your chart wherever Aries and Taurus is. The 11th house is your goals. Okay, now you know kind of the direction, what you want to heal about that area, or maybe you
Mm.
have healed it, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
don't need that anymore. So now what are your goals? Now, as far as like anyone else and where it might be for you, Chiron going into Taurus is going to bring up that um the need for healing, and sometimes it's an initial wounding. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how I look at it. So like Chiron's your seventh house.
Yeah, and I natally have Chiron and Taurus, so this is my Chiron return.
Chiron
And
return.
I've been reading about Chiron just as a mythological character, and the more I read about Chiron, the more I just absolutely adore Chiron.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
really, really, really love it for the wisdom. And so this will be my Chiron return. So I'll have lots of Chiron return stories and we'll get to kind of understand what Chiron in Taurus can be for just other people because it is my seventh house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I early on in my astrology career, I did a lot of readings for friends that had readings by other astrologers. And Chiron was a recurrent theme, and most of it was people coming to astrology carrying a Chiron wound that an astrologer placed on them. I saw that
Mm,
so much where people are like, I've had readings before and they just wanted to talk about my Chiron or they emphasize my Chiron as if it was like this bad thing. And I see that too. People really harp on where's your Chiron? What is it aspecting? Not that it isn't to be taken lightly,
sure.
but I feel like Chiron itself is kind of a wound or like a subject that we don't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that is part of just my own experience with having beginning my Chiron return is just unconditionally learning from it. And I've felt like an ambassadorship recently, having studied a lot more about Chiron to soften the fear mongering around it because it's
Yeah.
like we are all human. We all know what suffering is. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
by talking about Chiron or paying attention to it is going to like incur more suffering. The point of Chiron is to learn from it. So are you
Yes.
choosing to do self-reflective work? Are you choosing to look at your own stuff? Are you choosing to recognize what is not yours? Like that is all Chiron related. And
Yep.
so I'm really looking forward to Chiron and Taurus for so many reasons.
Yeah.
And just to, to dispel the fear around astrology in general, because like astrologers don't actually know exactly what is going to happen. We can look at historical fact and see what has happened, but going
Yeah.
forward, we can't always be like, this is definitely going to be this. Chiron in an earth sign, though, like the first things I think about are things that we're already talking about, which is food shortages and food
Mm-hmm.
insecurity and the wounding of the earth itself and our relationship to our own body cycles and being connected to our bodies. And I think that that will be challenged by Uranus and Gemini with biometrics being introduced into our physical forms. It's like, I
Mm.
feel like it will be addressing these things, but it's not just going to be the cause of it. It's just reflecting that we are all considering, what are we consuming with our bodies? How are we exposing ourselves to forever chemicals? How are we farming? How are we sourcing food? It's like all of that. If we all have a bit more ownership or take responsibility for these things, if we learn from the past and don't take our environments for granted, that can be what we learned from Chiron in an earth sign. And for that, I am super excited about. I feel like it's been a long time coming, and now we're kind of getting ready for it. So I'm looking forward to this date just to begin that journey.
Yeah. Chiron was discovered November 1st, 1977. So we haven't had much time as astrologers even to map it in people's lives.
Hmm.
So anyone telling you they know for sure it's like we haven't even we've just now begun to develop
Hmm.
our archetype around it. And the one part, I think what you said too about it could be the wound that astrologers have placed on you. Maybe it's because at the beginning of when it was discovered, it was like, oh yeah, it's Chiron, it's the wounded healer. I think people forget that Chiron had all of the healing knowledge in the universe, and he
Hmm.
trained all these heroes. Like he
Yeah.
trained Greek heroes,
Yeah.
in mythology. And that's the one thing I hold on to with Chiron is like, yeah, there, like you said, the suffering is there. We know about it. We can talk about it. But how do you use it, and what have you learned about yourself to help others heal too?
Hmm.
Chiron's a teacher. It teaches us, and then we use it to teach other people. So,
Yeah.
but I do love the ideas of or like the archetypes of the earth sign. I know that we had the whole it was not just the Me Too movement, but also the pronouns and identity with Chiron and Aries. And Aries is really related to identity. So, you
Yeah.
know, we'll, like you said, we'll see similar themes, but it'll be Taurian themes. And yeah, food, what kind of food we eat, and the biometrics things, like heck, we're doing the peptides thing now. It's like,
Yeah.
what does all this mean? So Chiron and Taurus is going to teach us a lot, I really think.
It's the key. I think of like in Tarot, the Hierophant represents Taurus or corresponds to Taurus. And it's like the key master. There's two
It
keys,
is.
there's cross keys on the card. And so there's just such
Go
a
back to it.
symbolic opening of unlocking these things that are already there by using the wisdom of Chiron, the teachings of Chiron. And that's what the Hierophant does, is that it informs us so that we can go beyond our teachers and learn and learn what is beyond the wisdom that even they encapsulate. So
Yeah.
yeah. Happy
I wanted to go
Chiron
back and
return
show
for all
it.
you 77 to 80 babies.
That's right. Oh man. Okay. So let's go to, okay, give me my mouse back. Thank you. Sometimes it's hard. I like to draw on it and then I forget how to use it. Okay. So after that, we got the sun entering Cancer. Yay.
Yay,
Solstice time.
solstice.
We're excited about that. Let me go to this. I always like to look at the
The solstice chart.
ingress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is no, the sun doesn't go retrograde. That might be why.
We would be ruined if it
That would
did.
be, yeah, burnt. Yep. All right. So it is 3:24 a.m. June 21st. Do I have it on the wrong date again? I probably do. That's okay. I've had a hard day. So sun in Cancer.
With
Let's look.
Mercury and Jupiter there. That's awfully
Yeah.
nice.
Here in Alabama and Birmingham, Taurus is rising. So I love this. I think it's with the sun entering Cancer. I mean, I always here where I live, it's beach time, so I always
Mm-hmm.
think of water and being around water, being in the
Mm-hmm.
creek and things like that. But yeah, it happens every year for everybody. So it's not like the, most mysterious transit we have. It's just, I think it's wonderful with the layout here with the moon in Virgo. I love that just
Sextile
because
Mercury.
Cancer,
Yeah.
yeah, and Jupiter there. Yeah, that's wonderful. Venus is past the opposition to Pluto. Uh, it feels like this is calmer. This week is calmer.
Mm-hmm.
Chiron enters Taurus and everything. We don't have the opposition to Pluto anymore. It's just like, nice Sunday.
Yeah, and it's like by the time we get to the sun going into Cancer, there's there's always like this sense of like breathing out, this relief.
Mm-hmm.
Before I was like paying attention to the exact, astrology of the skies, Gemini season felt like summertime because it was just like brighter and brighter and more active and more chaotic and more social and travel and like all this stuff would happen. And then you get to the summer solstice and it's like this like okay, we don't have to like there's not this sense of like we've got to pack it all in
Yeah.
or frenzy. It's like once the
Yeah.
sun goes into the water sign, it's like we're good. We still have the summer ahead of us. Like it on the first day of summer, it often feels
Yeah.
like summer has been lasting for a month already, right? And so
Yeah.
there's a sense of like relief of like we have so much time. It's like having a long weekend and it's still only Saturday when you still have Sunday and Monday off. There's that sense of like you can actually relax. You don't have to think about, like when we get into Leo season, you're starting to already think about going back to school or getting back into routines. And then when it's Virgo season, you're already there. Virgo is the Monday morning of the zodiac, right? And but for Cancer season, it's just like this nice, easy relax, which we won't have a relaxed Cancer season, but this moment feels like there's a little bit of sigh of relief. And it
Mm,
won't be the frenzy of Gemini anymore. We'll have a little bit of time. We have like what, a week and a half before things start to really get wild. But I think it's going to be a sweeter week and a half compared to July. Not that July, like we're all going to explode, like what I was saying about fear mongering before, but it's just like it feels tangibly different at the beginning of Cancer season, just from that lack of frenzy that we have with the Sun and Gemini.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's look. Yeah. So there's just you've got Venus
The
trine
Venus trine,
Saturn.
yeah. See that whole time. Then Mars sextile Jupiter. Mars is in Taurus, Jupiter's in Cancer. They're buddies, so it's just like this ease. And then it starts to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the full moon, and then there's Mercury retrograde, and then Jupiter leaves Cancer, and then it's like then it intensifies. So it's not a week and a half. It's just that week, that
Yeah.
full week of the summer solstice.
Yeah. It's a breath of fresh air. So let's look at Venus trine Saturn. Yeah. And
Yeah.
here we've got also, when does Mercury sextile Mars? I want to know that. Let's see. Because I had something. Oh, I guess it doesn't. That's right. Because because of the retrograde. It won't do that.
Oh,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Venus trine Saturn. I'm looking forward to this one. June 25th. And I have that emoji. It was like, thank you, thank you. That's what it feels like. We've had, especially with Mercury squaring Saturn, the sun will square Saturn eventually, but, I feel like there is a lot of work already that we've done with
hmm
Saturn approaching the middle part of Aries. And Venus trying this is like, um, uh, I could do it kind of thing, or look what I have done, or look at where I've come from, and recognize that,
Yeah.
because Venus and Leo likes to be recognized. So um I dare say Saturn and Aries likes to be recognized,
hmm
so uh I like this one.
Yeah, there's also the moon gets my attention in this chart. Yeah,
Mm.
trining, or sorry, not trining, squaring Venus.
Hmm.
The moon and Venus do not do great in Scorpio. Like they can both have a chip on their shoulder for good reason, but it
Yeah.
can be a little like uncomfortable place. And so it's almost like the moon is over there, like in the bushes, like glaring at this moment. The like there's something about the circumstances, the lunar story for this day that um and moon and Scorpio can be a place of kind of like not heartless, but just discernment, like to see things for the truth of what they actually are. And in a fire signs,
Mhm.
the Leo, Venus, the Saturn and Aries, they can blaze really brightly, but it's like the moon is going to see it for like what's actually really happening and what good can come of this. The sense of discernment really comes from that Scorpio moon. I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but I feel like looking at it through the Scorpio lens might glean some truth with your truth vision of Scorpio.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I love how the moon and Saturn are both in the sun's.
hmm
Again, that's funny. Venus
Yeah.
is in Jupiter's. So yeah, that's going to be a good day, and that's why I think we are tuning into this week feeling like things are working in some
hmm
way. Mercury is approaching Jupiter, so there's good stuff coming.
They're talking for sure.
They are,
They
and
got that
then
sextile from Mars as well.
oh yes, that's right. And Mars sextiles Jupiter exactly on the 29th. When does Oh, that's right. Okay, Mercury won't actually join up with Jupiter. I keep thinking that this is almost as close as it'll get to Jupiter when it's at 25. So Mars sextile Jupiter here is this is so funny. I'm just looking at it thinking Mars sextiles Jupiter, then it enters Gemini, and then Mercury goes retrograde. It's just
hmm
like Mars
What
shakes things
happened?
up. I know. I love the way these things go. So Mars sextile Jupiter, I want to look at it because I was really I didn't put a lot of sextiles on my calendar. Krista's got it on hers, but this one stood out to me because of the anaretic nature of it.
hmm
29th degree, the last degree of both of these signs. Mars and Taurus, it's kind of been after the Mars and Aries transit. I think Mars and Taurus has just been like pretty chill. That's what it's
Put
felt
your head
like.
down. It's like plow through, just plow
Yeah.
through. Maybe it's not like clean. It's like how I imagine is like instead of like cutting a piece of fabric, you like just snip a little bit and you just rip it,
Yeah.
just to like cut it off. It's like kind of crude, but it gets the job done and it's just a little no nonsense. But Mars is exiled in Taurus, so it just has to kind of put up with things.
Sure.
I do like that sextile together of just, connecting with the Cancer buddy. But again, the moon gets my attention here because from Scorpio it moves into Sag and then trines that Saturn um, Venus connection. So we have that trine between the moon, Saturn, and Venus 2 days after the exact Venus Saturn trine. So
Yeah.
the moon is definitely getting my attention. Maybe it's just Cancer season, so the moon is um, doing its job and making
Yeah.
itself be known.
Yeah. And especially with the moon and Jupiter being in mutual reception there, it's such a nice, like, copacetic kind of a
hmm
transit. And
Yeah.
almost like, Jupiter's exalted. It feels like almost like if there's any place that you felt like you haven't come out on top, this might be a recognition moment as well. I don't know
Hmm.
why I feel that way. Maybe it's the Venus and Leo that's making me think
Yeah.
that. Um, and like, hey, I know that you've things have been rough, but I wanted to get you a night at the spa, something
Yeah.
like that. It just seems like a really nice. Here is maybe a little bit of a gift for all the crap you've had to put up with.
Yeah. Here's your consolation prize.
Consolation prize,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it does feel like. So after this, it is cram week.
Hmm. That this really pits us up into July.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And that's why I left. I didn't even put the transit here because we're going to spend a lot of time on it next month. But
hmm
Mars will come together with Uranus. But to do that, it's got to go into Gemini, and that's what happens on the
hmm
28th. Um, and then right here, we're going to probably look at all of this together on the chart.
Yeah.
So Mars enters Gemini, Mercury goes retrograde in Cancer. There's a full moon in Capricorn. Jupiter enters Leo, squares Chiron immediately, and then
hmm
Mars and Uranus come together. So this week is you can almost once you realize this week is it reminds me of cram week when you're trying to like cram all
hmm
stuff for your exams or something. Then you realize just how not stressful the rest of the month was, I think, is when you get to
Yeah.
this week,
And it's really because it's Mars and Jupiter. So it's like
Mhm.
they're both pretty flashy. Jupiter is the benefic of the day sect, Mars is the malefic of the night sect. So there's like this foil to each other. Um, Mars is in Gemini, which is the air sign, which is chatty, it's expressive. Jupiter will go into a Leo, which is also chatty and expressive. So it just feels like it'll be both of those things will make themselves known. Um, and it just kind of really sets us up for a loud, bright, talkative, explosive, whatever word. It's going to be, it won't be chill. It will be
Yep.
just extra for like beginning that last week of June.
Mm. I mean, that's yeah. Chill is not a word that comes to mind when I think about this week. I tend to like Mars and Gemini just because it's active and it enjoys
Mm.
being there. It's an active
hmm
sign. But knowing that it's approaching Uranus on July 4th is squashing that for me. So also the fact that it's moving into Mercury's home when Mercury goes retrograde. So
Yeah.
June 28th, 2:29 p.m. Central Time, Mars enters Gemini, and then Mercury goes retrograde um June 29th at 12:35 p.m. So like
So Mercury will be retrograde at the conjunction of Mars and Uranus. So
yep.
maybe it's like self-inflicted mental wounds that we incur with that Mars
Mm-hmm.
and Uranus together, because Gemini is a mental sign, it's an air sign, intellectual sign. But I was listening to Adam Ellenboss, my teacher from Nightlight, and he was talking about the air signs also being the signs of spirit. Like when
Mm.
when you're in a room with a dead body, it's like the body, the frame is there but the spirit is gone. It's like the air is not in the lungs. And so thinking of air signs also as signs like that carry our spirit. And I like that because it's not necessarily the emotional realm that we look at for water signs, but it does have some spiritual realm to it, and the ability to communicate and express our beliefs through our words. We use our voices to do that. We use our spirit to direct that. And I wonder with Mars and Uranus, it's like going to be this vocalization of what what purposeful, fierce ideas of spirit we have about ourselves. And, maybe that will be our own personal fireworks for that conjunction, is
Sure.
like expressing what we care about, because Mars defends what it cares about. And maybe it'll come in unexpected ways with that Uranus. Maybe mundane and globally, we will see it in like very loud ways. But personally, it could just be that you don't bite your tongue. You just share it. You just vocalize it. You
Mm.
just you just speak it out loud. You speak your truth. And maybe it is a surprise to you that you've even felt that way. But it's like the the spirit coming through that air sign.
Mm,
That's kind of what I'm looking for just on like a personal level, because we're all going to be waking up, going to work or traveling around, visiting family, having fun, whatever it is. Like we're all going to have our regular days while Mars is in Gemini. We're not just going to be watching the world happen from our
right.
couches. We're also going to be engaging with it. So on a personal level, I just think that we're all going to be a little loudmouthed with what we care about. At the end of June and going into July. And like saying what we want to fight for.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I also think about change, especially with Uranus
Hmm.
and change with Gemini, because Gemini, the double body thing, it's a lot of times if we do want to make changes, Gemini is a good place to do it.
Yeah.
But with Mercury retrograde, that's also a moment of change, a moment of the circumstances are shifted, or
Hmm.
you want to change the circumstances. So there's both of these things together at a full moon,
Yeah, right.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing that keeps coming to my mind, is because so if you go to July 4th, that's what the US is, a 13-degree sun.
Hmm.
We also have Mars and Uranus and Gemini.
Hmm.
So there is, I think we have Mercury in
It's a thrice
Cancer.
great return.
That's right. And I mean, if you think about it, then if you go to this full moon, it's all very locked in, especially to the US chart.
Hmm.
Um, but the US, I was thinking this other day, is us.
Yeah.
So, as far as you and your life goes, this is a moment, if you want to change something, that it's going to be, I don't want to say easier.
You'll
I
be
want
able
to,
to see it. You'll be able to
yes,
see what you want to change. Yeah.
yes, and feel it with Mercury retrograde.
Hmm.
Like the intellectual emotional connections here are huge. And I
Hmm.
think that's what it takes to change things. And then you have the structure being reflected to you with the full moon, and what framework that has to happen in, or not.
Hmm.
So and then even government, like I think of and I know that people who aren't in the US may watch this, who aren't even in the northern hemisphere, but you think about um if you are, it's our 250th anniversary, of this country, and the people in place in our government, and what new laws either might be scrapped or come up,
Hmm.
and what it might do to our own lives. So this is a moment of change, no matter which way you look at it, and especially for people who live in the US. But for anyone else, it's equally as much of a moment of change. So um yeah, it's a big week. It's just a big week, and I don't know that we can describe it much more than we have. It's just watch for where when you're in the ocean and the waves are coming, you have a boogie board, and you wait, and sometimes that's not the wave to catch.
Hmm. Yeah.
Which wave is the best wave to catch, and or are you choosing to plant your feet and get pounded into the sand by that wave, kind of a thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then, right here, Jupiter anoretic, it's almost the most anoretic it can be at this moment. And then the
Which it
next,
also speaks to governments. If we look at Jupiter for
that's
governments,
right.
having that at that anaretic degree. Uh, the other thing that I'm looking at is, in other astrologers are talking about this too. I first learned this from S.J. Anderson, but the basket configuration that they're
Yeah.
calling it, that's coming up in July, is promising, for lack of
Yeah.
a better word. And
Yeah. I
if we
think of
look at,
Renaissance.
yeah, if
Yeah.
we think of Saturn, Neptune coming together in Aries at that Aries point, that 0 degree point in February, that moment, and then the kind of the basket that's being formed with the outers in July are these moments of real inceptional choice.
Mm-hmm.
And and with the outers, especially, all of them coming together, and creating this supportive and new configuration, that does speak to a more mundane or globally experienced moment of time. And so both that
Hmm.
Saturn Neptune conjunction and this basket coming up in July, it's like there's going to be big things, but Renaissance movements come out of dysfunction and when
Absolutely.
things are not sustainable, and so we're in the it's not sustainable phase of that
Hmm.
story now, especially going into the early July. But then again, these are bigger cycles of time, but July also has that. And when we do the July forecast, we'll spend a lot of time talking about that because it is
Yeah.
incredibly inspiring and hopeful amidst all of the other things that are like definitely more challenging. And then in August, we're going to have the Leo eclipse, and then we're going to have the Pisces full moon eclipse. We're going to be straddling eclipse stories between Pisces, Virgo, Leo, Aquarius, and then even Cancer, Capricorn. Like they're going to be spreading over half of the sky in our
Yeah.
charts. The Leo eclipse that's happening on August 12th is one that is just, incredibly loud because it's a solar sign, with Leo. And so but
Yeah.
like there's big, big things happening. The messy part is what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But there will also be these bigger things that are kind of moving everyone along. It's not like you're
Yeah.
going to be left just in your own personal suffering. Like we will all suffer and grow and learn to heal our own wounds, simultaneously during these interesting times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you think uh, you get closer. So the full moon is at 6:56 p.m. at 8 degrees. And then the Jupiter ingress, that's on the 29th. So the Jupiter ingress is the just that night after midnight here in Central Time. And Jupiter ingress is Leo. And then in that way, that with the basket configuration that Chris is referring to, that this is when it begins to form, is when
Hmm.
Jupiter ingresses Leo.
Yeah.
So this is a very important moment. And if you think about it, Jupiter square Chiron immediately. And Chiron is such a generational asteroid, or dwarf planet actually. And I love that because you experience it with your generation. Like
Hmm.
I have Chiron at 0 Gemini, you have Chiron in Taurus, and you
Hmm.
experience these things. And so Jupiter will be squaring a whole generation of people's Chiron return, and that makes it bigger. And it makes it
Yeah.
like we've got to do something about this. Jupiter
Yeah.
is a benefic. It will, I think, benefit us to showing us just how big that dysfunction is with whatever Chiron and Taurus is talking about.
Hmm.
And that's immediate. I mean, I think that is the next day, or actually, is it Thursday? Yeah, it's Thursday, July 2nd. So, um, or maybe right before, it's actually Wednesday night. So you've got that. And then, of course, you've got July 4th as a preview, Mars, Uranus. And
Hmm.
then if we do fast forward just for a second, because we want to look at this, maybe a week or two before this, actually, this is part of this basket that we're talking about. So there's
Hmm.
Pluto, Neptune, Uranus,
Uranus. Yeah.
Jupiter. And yeah, that's it.
It's a biggie.
It is a biggie. And it's really cool too. Like it's just super cool.
Hmm.
Um, so whatever the case may be, especially with the July 4th stuff and went way too far. Um, and this Jupiter ingress into Leo and Mars Uranus, it's almost like the inflection point to to make you want that basket formation in your
Mm.
life. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So and then the universe provides. So the last week of June is absolutely the highest energy to me. I guess we could do our favorites and our not so favorites. I mean my favorites.
New Moon
The
Gemini.
mm,
I really love that one.
I love that one. I love, and I know I don't have it on here, but where it says Moon in Pisces, I love
Mm-hmm.
this seventh, eighth, and I should have changed this. Goes on to the ninth actually, but um, yeah, these 2 days right here are some
Yeah.
of my favorite, I think. But yeah, the new moon in Gemini is great. Um, least favorite full moon in Capricorn.
Least favorite. Hmm. I don't know. Mercury square Neptune isn't, it's like I'm not looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
I don't exactly know why. I feel like maybe it's gonna be a tough day. Um, I'm in a Mercury year though, so maybe that's what it is that I'm drawn to like the good mercurial new moon and like kind of not looking forward to the square to Neptune. Maybe it speaks more about where I'm at
yeah,
than yeah, but that's where I'm calling in for my own personal station. So that's um yeah, I'm appreciative that the craziness of that last week of June does not include the sun in Gemini. The sun in Gemini just feels like it burns us up.
yeah,
And so having the sun go into Cancer and have that week be fairly chill to prepare us and like, help us recharge our
yes,
batteries for the demands of our attention for that last week of June and going into July will be maybe it'll just be really, really hot. Maybe
yeah,
that's like the temperature of dialogue and the temperature and outside and just everything will just be elevated.
yeah,
I know that you look at weather patterns and maybe the sun will just do crazy things, and just um,
yeah.
be a little extra when Jupiter goes into Leo.
I absolutely agree. I think especially during Cancer season, there that's it's hot and watery, and
Hmm.
that's the thing that you get when you get lots of hot moisture. Let me put it that
Hmm.
way. You get hurricanes, you get summer thunderstorms that are crazy lightning. You've got
Hmm.
Mars Uranus as well, adding the wind to it. So
Yeah.
there could be that. I would definitely watch for Gulf stuff. Maybe even the Atlantic Pacific stuff with there's the super El Nino. I don't know if you've heard of this that's
Mm-mm.
happening. And it's just it hasn't happened like this in 150 years.
248 years.
It's
Just
some
kidding.
yeah, exactly. Something like that. And it's there I encourage everyone to like just Google it. There's just a lot of weird shifts in the way normal weather works,
Mm.
So um drought, especially in the southeast, it's been a thing. We've had a lot of rain and therefore some flooding because it's
Hmm.
been a drought and um just wild weather. It's going to be pretty weird. I agree. And I am on this going to Camp War Eagle with my daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, War Eagle. We're a Roll Tide family, and she chose Auburn.
That's
Yeah,
that Venus opposite Pluto right there.
there you go. That's it. Yeah, like biting the bullet, wearing a tiger instead of an elephant. But
Hmm.
I I'm looking forward to that week. Just, spend it with my baby. And I
Yeah.
hope everyone else is looking forward to that because as soon as that's over, then she gets ready to leave. And that's what this is for me.
Yep. Yep.
And that's a good way to tune into this. Go look at your own calendar and go, oh, okay, I see this and then this. And it'll already be there pretty much. I mean, if
Hmm.
you plan out like I do, I have to plan months in advance, especially astrology, musician, all these things. You have to plan so far in advance. And it's so nice to see, no matter which astrologer calendar you use, it's just nice to see that it lines up most of the time. And then if you see something contentious, on a date that the aspect of a transit is contentious, you already know it. You already
Hmm.
know. We already know most of this,
Yeah.
So um yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting month. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we bought like a big 16-foot circular above ground pool last year and put it up. It was like my Jupiter and Cancer gift to myself. It came out of just like, I'm so tired of being hot. And so like dug out and leveled this wide area. And so I'm looking like I will definitely have, knock on wood, definitely have that pool up by the solstice so that I can float, because my favorite thing last year was to just cool off
Yeah.
the summer at night, and I would just float and watch the bats above me, catching all the mosquitoes. And there was just something, and I would hear the bears in the woods. It was like such like this, but I was in the pool, I was just floating, and there, like, to be supported by water,
Mm.
it was just nourishing. As a water rising, you're a water rising. There's something just
Oh yeah,
absolutely nourishing to be supported and float in water. If I have enough water to float, then I just feel complete. I feel whole.
absolutely. And this with all the Jupiter in Leo, Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, it is going to be a hot and dry sort of
Hmm.
summer situation, whether the weather reflects that or not. It's more like the energetics of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, water is not a bad thing to plan to have in your life in some way. Creeks,
Hmm.
rivers,
Make a water date.
drinking water. Yeah,
Yep.
make a water date.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Just
would,
being around water, like even if you're like having the breeze, like if you don't get into the ocean, but you're at the ocean, having that breeze of that humid water is just so healing. I
mhm.
wrote kind of this fairly light article. Most of my articles are a little, like, I put a lot of work into them, so they feel dense, but I was just like, fuck it, just houseplants for the zodiac. So I just wrote like what houseplants remind me of each zodiac. And when I got to Scorpio, I was like, everybody chooses snake plant. Like it's just like
Yeah,
it's kind of
easy.
like, I love a snake plant, but it doesn't feel right. And I settled on aloe because it's like aloe is cooling. Scorpio
Mm,
is a dark sign. It can both cut you, the plant itself, but then heal you, which is kind of scorpionic. But just that the medicine of cooling aloe has been prominent since I wrote that article. I was like, there's something about drinking aloe internally just to kind of cool
mhm,
off your irritation. Helps, digestion. It helps purge things, but it just helps soften and cool down kind of that hot inflamed tissue. And so I just want to have more aloe around me just to have that medicine. And so I think you're right, just like having water around, whatever form that water is, fountains, go to the creek, go to the lake, go to the ocean, go to the pool, whatever it is, go to a splash pad for kids. Like adults are allowed to go there too, just to get wet. Um, that would be my advice to kind of counteract, like you said, all the air and the fire that is in the sky. So yeah, I feel
yeah,
hot already, but I am wearing polyester. Do you like my shirt? This is an old
I
vintage
do.
shirt and it does not breathe, so I did not button it up.
I love it. I've got my little shawl on too, or
Yeah.
mine's a shawl sort of thing, kimono, whatever. But it's also not
A
natural fiber.
caftan. It's like they're not
Caftan.
moo-moos anymore, they're caftans. Yeah,
That's
I've had
right.
this since I was a teenager. It's got like psychedelic peacocks on it.
I
It's
love
very
it.
Venus Leo, but I was like, what's my craziest Gemini shirt? I was like, I guess it's this one. But it's also hot because, Polly doesn't breathe at all.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, and I'm going to probably try to invest in some linen and cotton for this summer, probably.
Hmm. Yep.
uh,
All
well,
right. If Big Linen and Big Cotton want to sponsor the show, we can just like send us some
yeah, or big aloe.
big aloe. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take a big aloe plant. And lime is cooling. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like I
Mint.
like yeah. So all the
Yeah.
cooling herbs, all the ones that
My
help
sister
move.
makes this one tea. It's holy basil,
Mm,
lime basil, hibiscus, and mojito mint. It is
mm.
so good. It is so, so delicious. So, yeah. Maybe I'll steal
Yeah.
the recipe from her and put it in the show notes.
There you go. Make some sun tea this summer too with
Hmm.
Jupiter and Leo.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, Mandy.
Thank you. And happy June, everyone. I hope you guys have a good one. And we'll see you for July. I think that'll probably be a longer one if I had to guess.
Yep.
It's gonna be a longer one. We're gonna talk about history and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
I'm already doing some research. You said you were working on your calendar already. And
Yep.
I'm like, here we go. It's coming. But that being said, both of us are open to work with. You can go to
Hmm.
ecstaticastrology.com or Practical Ast
Practicalastros.com. Yep.
yes, yes. And you can find us at basically those handles on all social media. So like, share, and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, maybe we can do some Instagram lives during July, just some check-ins, because usually I joke around. I'm like, we should have like surge rates during eclipse times for astrologers. But I feel like July is going to be like a surge rate month. So maybe we should just like do some check-ins just to tell people what's going on. Because people are going to be texting you, what's going on with the stars right now?
Yep.
That'll be the name of my book. Whenever I write a book, I'll be like, what's going on with the stars right now?
Oh, and we know we get those texts all the time, and I love it. I love that we have that knowledge. It's a really special day. So
yeah, we get to do weird shit. That's awesome.
All right,
guys. Well, thanks everyone. See you next month.
Like and subscribe.